For millions of years after the extinction of the dinosaurs, terror birds ruled the land as one of the planet's most fearsome apex predators. Towering over most creatures and armed with dagger-like beaks, they seem virtually untouchable, until now. In a shocking prehistoric discovery, fossil evidence has revealed an unexpected twist in the ancient food chain. Paleontologists studying unearthed bones from South America made a startling observation: deep bite marks etched into the fossilized remains of a terror bird, marks that couldn't have been made by any smaller scavenger. These weren't random scratches, these were crushing bites, consistent with an ambush predator far larger and more powerful. But what kind of monster could overpower a terror bird predator? The answer lies in the swamps and wetlands of prehistoric South America, where another apex hunter silently thrived, the giant Caiman, Purussaurus. Measuring up to 40 feet long, this prehistoric crocodilian may have been the only creature capable of ambushing and taking down a full-grown terror bird. What begins as a tale of dominance ends with the hunter becoming prey. And through fossilized bones and ancient bite marks, the story of this deadly clash comes to life. Welcome to one of the most unexpected predator showdowns in Earth's history. Meet the monsters, terror birds of South America. Long before humans ever walked the Earth, another kind of terror stalked the plains of South America, an apex predator on two legs, known to science as Purussaurus, but to the world as the terror bird. These prehistoric predators emerged around 60 million years ago, shortly after the dinosaurs vanished, and dominated the continent until just 2 million years ago. In a post-dinosaur world, they filled the vacant role of top terrestrial hunter with terrifying efficiency. Terror birds weren't just large, they were monstrously engineered for speed and violence. The most notorious among them, Caiman guillemot, stood 3 meters tall and weighed up to 250 kilograms. Fossil reconstructions suggest they could sprint at speeds of 60 to 70 kilometers per hour, outpacing almost any prey across open grasslands. But it wasn't just their speed that made them formidable, it was their weaponized skulls. Unlike the raptors of the Cretaceous, terror birds lacked teeth. Instead, they relied on an enormous hooked beak, capable of delivering skull-shattering strikes. Studies of their bone structure suggest an incredibly high bite force concentrated at the tip of the beak, enough to pierce bone and crush windpipes. Their hunting behavior likely involved high-speed pursuits ending in rapid, brutal pecking attacks. Once prey was down, the bird's beak could tear flesh with surgical precision. Some paleontologists believe they used a technique similar to modern-day secretary birds, stomping or striking their prey to death with rapid-fire blows. Their skeletal structure reveals strong, muscular legs built for both speed and sudden bursts of explosive force. Although they had wings, these were vestigial, useless for flight, but possibly helpful for balance or display. Different species of terror birds occupied various ecological niches. Titanus walleri, for instance, made its way into North America after the Great American Interchange and stood as one of the largest land predators in Florida. The diversity of terror bird species reflects just how dominant they were in ancient ecosystems. But even the most fearsome creatures have their limits. And as fossil evidence now shows, being the top predator didn't guarantee safety. Not when Purussaurus, the giant caiman of prehistory, lurked in nearby waters, waiting for its moment to strike. The unexpected threat, giant prehistoric caiman. While terror birds dominated the dry land, an even more colossal threat lurked in the water: Purussaurus, the giant prehistoric caiman that reigned over the ancient Amazonian wetlands. Stretching up to 12 meters in length and weighing as much as 10 tons, Purussaurus was one of the largest crocodilian species ever to exist. Its jaws alone measured over 5 feet long, and its bite force has been estimated at a staggering 7 tons per square inch. To put that in perspective, that's nearly 4 times the bite force of a modern saltwater crocodile and enough to crush bone like cardboard. Unlike their modern relatives, crocodiles and alligators, Purussaurus wasn't just big, it was an ancient apex predator that had no true rivals in the water and very few on land. It thrived in the lush, swampy ecosystems of prehistoric South America, where it shared its habitat with a wide range of megafauna, including the very terror birds that once ruled the savannas. In this overlapping environment, where rivers snaked through forested floodplains and dense marshes, a single wrong step near the water's edge could turn a top predator into prey. Purussaurus likely hunted using the same deadly ambush tactics we see in crocodilians today, only on a much more terrifying scale. Hidden beneath the murky water, it would wait for unsuspecting animals to drink or cross the riverbank. Then, with a sudden lunge, it could clamp down with jaws strong enough to crush a skull or shatter a femur in one devastating strike. What made it particularly dangerous wasn't just its size or power, it was its ability to strike without warning and drag even massive animals into the depths. Though terror birds were well equipped to dominate the land, they had no defense against an aquatic ambush of this magnitude. Paleoenvironments reconstructed from sediment and fossil records show that terror birds often foraged near these river systems, putting them at constant risk. The idea of a fully grown coelencan being snatched by a hidden Purussaurus might sound like science fiction, but fossil records, including recent discoveries of ancient bite marks, suggest this scenario was more than just possible. It was likely part of nature's brutal balance during the age of prehistoric giants. The shocking discovery, fossil bite marks, tell the story. The idea that a terror bird could fall prey to another predator seemed almost unthinkable, until the bones started telling a different story. In 2023, paleontologists examining fossilized remains from northern Argentina and parts of Colombia uncovered a shocking pattern. Several large bird bones, believed to belong to Purussaurids, bore deep, ragged bite marks inconsistent with scavenger activity or natural erosion. These weren't scratches from claws or post-mortem decay. They were crushing impressions, powerful punctures, and serrated gouges that pointed to something with immense biting power. One particularly revealing case involved a fossilized femur, likely from a coelencan or a close relative, that had both healed and fatal bite marks. Court scans revealed stress fractures from previous injuries that had partially healed, indicating the bird had survived at least one attack. But a second set of bites, far more devastating, had clearly ended its life. The morphology of the wounds was critical in determining the culprit. Using comparative analysis, scientists matched the size, spacing, and pattern of the bite marks against known jaw structures of prehistoric predators. The result? A near-perfect match with Purussaurus, the giant caiman. Unlike big cats or saber-toothed predators, Purussaurus left a distinctive imprint. Its teeth were not designed for slicing, but for crushing, massive, conical, and deeply rooted. The pressure from its bite could crack through the densest of bones, and the spacing of the punctures aligned with its jaw width. No other known predator in the region during that time had the right combination of size, bite force, and habitat overlap. These weren't random wounds or evidence of scavenging, they were signs of predation. The discovery upended long-held beliefs in paleontology. For decades, terror birds were viewed as virtually unchallenged apex predators, but the fossil evidence told a more nuanced story. They were dominant, yes, but not invincible. Even the mightiest hunter could become prey under the right circumstances. The presence of both healed and fatal wounds suggests a violent landscape where survival often came down to split seconds and a bit of luck. These bite-marked bones now serve as prehistoric time capsules, capturing a deadly encounter between two giants that never should have crossed paths. And yet, they did, leaving behind predator-prey fossils that challenge everything we thought we knew about ancient apex hierarchies. Predator versus predator, the power struggle in the complex world of prehistoric ecosystems. Not every predator had the luxury of uncontested dominance. As paleontologists reconstruct the ancient environments of Miocene South America, a remarkable picture begins to emerge, one where apex predators like terror birds and Purussaurus caimans didn't simply coexist, but sometimes collided. This wasn't a peaceful division of land and water. Fossil evidence suggests a brutal prehistoric predator conflict was brewing, fueled by overlapping territories and dwindling resources. Both terror birds and giant caimans thrived in the same tropical environments, dense wetlands, floodplains, and forests teeming with prey. But apex predator rivalry is an ecological tightrope. When two super predators occupy the same ecosystem, competition is inevitable. And while direct confrontations between top predators are rare in today's world, they're not impossible. On the Indonesian islands of Komodo, dragon lizards have been documented attacking crocodiles during periods of food scarcity. These modern analogues provide insight into ancient behaviors, suggesting that under extreme environmental stress, even dominant predators may clash violently. During the Miocene, climate fluctuations and periodic droughts could have intensified these pressures. Water sources shrank, prey migrated, and food scarcity grew severe. These conditions often lead to predator-predator interactions that would otherwise be avoided. A terror bird, weakened by hunger or lured too close to water, could have easily become the target of a lurking Purussaurus. In such scenarios, the line between hunter and hunted became dangerously thin. But here's the critical question. Were these bite marks evidence of active predation or post-mortem scavenging? That debate remains at the heart of fossil-predator interaction studies. If the terror bird was already dead, a Purussaurus feeding on the carcass wouldn't be entirely surprising. However, the bone damage suggests otherwise. The placement, depth, and trauma patterns point toward a violent, high-pressure bite consistent with a live kill, one where bone was crushed during active struggle, not passive consumption. This kind of apex-predator rivalry reshapes how we view prehistoric power structures. Rather than separate food chains, these species were part of a shared, dynamic battlefield, where dominance wasn't guaranteed and a single misstep could flip the balance. In this raw, ancient power struggle, even Earth's most terrifying hunters weren't safe. Paleontological detective work, tracing the bite, uncovering the truth behind prehistoric predator attacks isn't just a matter of finding bones, it's forensic science at its most ancient. When paleontologists encounter fossil remains with suspicious marks or fractures, they don't just make guesses. They turn to a suite of tools and techniques designed to decode the past. Matching bite marks to specific species, especially in a world with multiple giant predators, requires careful paleontological detective work. One of the primary methods used is comparative morphology. Scientists measure the size, depth, angle, and spacing of bite marks and compare them against the jaw structures of known prehistoric animals. In the case of the terror bird fossils, the bites didn't match any known saber-tooth or large cat-like predator. Instead, they lined up almost exactly with the dental pattern of Purussaurus, whose conical teeth and wide jaw arc left a distinctive signature. 3D modeling takes this a step further, using digital reconstructions to simulate how a particular jaw might inflict damage on bone. By modeling bite forces, entry angles, and crush resistance, researchers can replicate ancient attacks with astonishing accuracy. But even with modern tools, not all experts agree. Some paleontologists argue the marks could result from post-mortem scavenging, that a Purussaurus simply stumbled across a dead or dying terror bird and tore into it. This interpretation would still place the caiman as a significant force in the food chain, but not necessarily as a direct hunter of the birds. Others insist the trauma is too violent, too targeted to be anything but predation. These fossil interpretation controversies are a central part of paleontology, and they fuel the ongoing debates that keep the science alive. In the end, each new fossil is a clue. Each bone tells a fragment of a story that spans millions of years. And with every dig, every scan, and every expert analysis, we move closer to understanding the true nature of Earth's prehistoric battles. Evolutionary fallout: who survived and why? The prehistoric rivalry between terror birds and Purussaurus may have shaped the ecosystems of ancient South America, but neither species escaped the forces of extinction. Terror birds, once dominant across the continent, vanished roughly 2 million years ago. The reasons behind the terror bird extinction are complex, but a combination of environmental shifts and increasing mammalian competition played a significant role. As forests spread and open grasslands shrank, their hunting advantages diminished. Eventually, more adaptable predators and changing prey dynamics drove them to extinction. Purussaurus, the ancient apex predator of the wetlands, met its end even earlier, around 5 million years ago. Despite its dominance, the giant caiman couldn't survive the same pressures that dismantled so many megafaunal giants. As South America's climate changed, river systems shifted, and prey became scarcer. The Purussaurus extinction marked the loss of one of the most powerful aquatic hunters in Earth's history. Yet not all was lost. While the giants fell, their smaller, more adaptable relatives endured. Modern birds, the descendants of dinosaurs and distant cousins of terror birds, adapted to diverse environments across the globe. Today's caimans and crocodilians, smaller and more efficient than their massive ancestors, still patrol riverbanks in Central and South America. Their survival underscores a key theme in extinction patterns. Size and specialization may win battles, but flexibility often wins the war. These evolutionary survivors remind us that in times of climatic upheaval, it's not always the biggest or strongest who endure, it's the ones best equipped to change. What this tells us about modern ecosystems. The tale of the terror bird and Purussaurus is more than just a fascinating fossil mystery. It holds real lessons for our modern ecosystems. Ancient predator dynamics reveal that apex predators don't exist in a vacuum. Ecosystems are living, shifting webs of interdependence, and predator hierarchy can change in an instant. What we learn from prehistoric predator conflict helps us understand how today's wildlife systems might react under similar pressures. Take modern rivalries, lions versus hyenas, orcas versus great white sharks. These apex predators compete for territory, prey, and dominance, much like their prehistoric counterparts. But unlike the Miocene world, today's apex predator balance is under siege. Not from natural causes, but from human activity. Habitat loss, poaching, and climate change are distorting the predator-prey balance that took millions of years to evolve. Studying fossil lessons for modern ecology gives us a long-term view of how predator interactions shape ecosystems and what happens when those systems are disrupted. The extinction patterns of the past mirror the ecological stress we see today. Megafauna collapse, predator instability, and biodiversity loss aren't just ancient stories, they're warnings. By examining ancient bite marks, fossilized bones, and predator-prey fossils, we gain more than knowledge, we gain foresight. These discoveries inform conservation strategies that aim to protect modern ecosystems from the same fate. Because understanding how the past fell apart may be the key to keeping the future intact. Even the mightiest can fall. Through fossilized bite marks and shattered bones, we've uncovered a story few expected. Terror birds, once the terror of their time, became prey to an even more fearsome hunter. The rise and fall of prehistoric apex predators like Purussaurus and Purussauridae isn't just about who ate who. It's about survival, adaptability, and the ever-changing rules of nature's game. What other so-called undefeated animals from Earth's past might have met their match? What ancient secrets still lie buried in the sediment, waiting to rewrite what we think we know about prehistoric life? If you found this fossil mystery as thrilling as we did, make sure to hit like, leave a comment with your favorite prehistoric predator, and subscribe for more jaw-dropping discoveries from Earth's deep past. And don't miss our next video, Giant Sloths vs Saber-toothed Cats, or The Secret Killer of the Ice Age, where we dive into more apex predator showdowns and extinction mysteries that will blow your mind. Thanks for watching. Until next time, remember, every bite mark tells a story.